In the news tonight, the lower house of parliament votes in an emergency meeting to sack Deputy Talal al-Sharif and to suspend the membership of Deputy Qusay al-Dmaisi after an altercation and a gunshot in the chambers. Syria says it supports a Russian proposal for Damascus to give up chemical weapons to avoid a possible U.S. military strike and to spare Syrian blood. And Jordan's Al Nashama books an intercontinental playoff against the fifth-placed finishers in South American qualifying for a ticket to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. A royal decree ordered the addition of an item on the agenda of the current extraordinary parliament session, the discussion of gunshots under the dome. The decree came after Member of Parliament Talal al-Sharif fired a shot from his rifle towards fellow Member of Parliament Qusay al-Dmaisi. Al-Sharif had attempted to bring his rifle into the Parliament chambers after a fierce debate with Dmaisi, but was stopped by the guards. He then proceeded to fire a shot in the hallway towards Dmaisi. Fortunately, nobody was harmed in the incident. The altercation between the deputies forced Lower House Speaker Saad Hayy to suspend the meeting until order was restored. The House later convened in an emergency meeting in which they voted to sack Deputy Talal al-Sharif and to suspend the House membership of Deputy Qusay al-Dmaisi for 1 year. Over to the Syria crisis, and Russia said it will be proposing a UN draft declaration supporting its initiative to put Syrian chemical weapons under international control. The Russian Foreign Ministry also said that a proposal being discussed by the United States, France and Britain to adopt a UN Security Council resolution holding the Syrian government responsible for the possible use of chemical weapons was unacceptable. The Russian statement came after the US administration said it plans to table a Security Council resolution on Syria's chemical weapons. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate, that was scheduled to vote tomorrow on authorizing military action against Syria, may not vote this week after lawmakers said they want to wait for the U.S. president to make his case to the Americans first. Barack Obama is due to address the American public in Congress from the White House at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's tomorrow, 4 a.m. Jordan local time. In Damascus, Syrian Prime Minister Wael al-Halqi said his country supported the Russian proposal for Damascus to give up chemical weapons to avoid a possible U.S. military strike and to spare Syrian blood. Rad Btoush has more.
Unexpected developments seem to change the turn of events on Syria, as diplomacy now might have the upper hand over military actions in Syria. A Russian proposal for putting Syria's chemical weapons under international control was widely welcomed by the Syrian leadership.
The Syrian Arab Republic welcomes the Russian initiative, motivated by the Syrian leadership's concern for the lives of our citizens and the security of our country.
China, a staunch supporter of diplomacy on Syria, also welcomed the Russian plan.
China has always maintained that a political solution is the only realistic way out for the Syrian issue.
Iran was just as welcoming of the initiative as Syria and reiterated its stance against any military intervention in the country.
The Islamic Republic of Iran welcomes any initiatives aimed at the political solution for this problem.
Britain, however, believes the initiative came as a result of united pressure on Syria and said the pressure must continue.
We have to remember the initiative that has been talked about since yesterday has only come about because of the strong and united pressure that has been placed on this issue on chemical weapons in recent weeks and the threat of a tough response on chemical weapons. So the world needs to keep that up. Time is short, of course, to try to ensure that there is something here that is credible.
France, who had pressed forcefully for strikes to punish the government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad over the alleged chemical attack, said the Russian offer is acceptable if it comes under a UN Security Council and if it meets 3 conditions. Fabius said that there should be a commitment to control and destroy the stock by not only the Russians but also the Syrians. The second condition, added Fabius, was that this commitment had to be obliging, and if it was not undertaken, there should be sanctions. The last condition was to take the chemical attack massacre to the International Criminal Court. But the Gulf Arab states showed more pessimism on the Russian move, saying it would not stop bloodshed in Syria. The Russian move is a potential game changer and could potentially avert a proposed US military strike against Syria, an option the US Congress is now debating. Radha Plush for the news at 10.
On the ground, meanwhile, government forces warplanes bombed rebellious districts of Damascus for the first time since the August 21st poison gas attacks. Rebels said the airstrikes were a demonstration that the government now believed the West had lost its nerve. Clashes also erupted in and around the Idlib province. According to activists, the battle was not over and that rebels were still fighting government forces. As the fighting intensifies, civilians are seeking shelter in Lebanon, only to face extremely poor living conditions. Farah Ajlouni has the details.
Desperation among Syrian refugees on Lebanon's border is constantly rising due to their poor living conditions. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, along with several NGOs, is trying to cope with the influx of newly arrived Syrians fleeing the civil war by handing out food coupons and other much-needed aids. Lebanon does not permit the UN agency to set up formal camps, so the refugees are trying to find shelter wherever they can. Town after town in Beqa' Valley quickly are filling up with makeshift tent cities. Dozens of Syrians, old and young, are living under one roof, anywhere where they can find shelter, like Bar Ilyas. The town donated this space at a time when some residents were renting space on their land to let Syrian refugees set up a tent. But anger and desperation among the refugees is building up. One refugee complained about her living conditions, saying her family was sleeping and then suddenly the rats came and ate their food. They had to cover it or hang it somewhere. She also complained that the only bathroom is for 15 families. It is mostly the women who were in charge of these small communities. These rooms were rented out illegally for around $100 a month, and the landlord was threatening to put them out if they could not pay. At the same time, they said the UN and NGOs working in the area have cut down on aid.
We are caught between Iraq and a hard place. We're living in stress here, and my family is living in stress in Syria. We cannot see them, and they cannot see us. We can't go to Syria, and those in Syria cannot come here. We have no clothes, no clean water, nothing. Not just me, but all the refugees around me.
This was the reality on the Lebanese border town like Bar Ilyas. The influx of Syrian refugees continues undeterred. In the last 2 years, Bar Ilyas' population has doubled. Now half of the residents are Syrians. A time of reckoning may be coming sooner than later. Winter is coming. The refugees will need even more support as these tents won't keep out the cold. Farah Ajlouni for the news at 10.
In Iraq, bomb attacks killed at least 20 people today in the continued spiral of violence in the country. In the province of Diyala, a car bomb targeted a marketplace in the village of Anbakiya, killing 5 people. Another car bomb targeted a tribal leader who survived, while 3 others were killed, and a blast in Huwaish village, also in Diyala province, claimed 3 more lives. A roadside bomb also killed 5 people in a coffee shop in Latifiya, around 40 kilometers from Baghdad. Elsewhere, gunmen killed 6 people in a house in Yusufiya, south of Baghdad, where a family were preparing the body of a man for burial. In Iran, at least 44 people were killed and 39 injured when 2 passenger buses collided outside the capital Tehran and caught fire. A police official said the accident occurred when a bus carrying passengers from Isfahan to Tehran suffered a punctured tire and crossed a guardrail. The bus then swerved into oncoming traffic, where it hit a second bus traveling from Tehran to Yazd. Road accidents occur in Iran at a rate 20 times higher than the world average, with nearly 28,000 people killed in road-related accidents annually. And in California, a wildfire sweeping over a mountainside park east of San Francisco doubled in size for the second straight day. The blaze, burning in dense, dry scrub, grass and timber in and around Mount Diablo State Park, had scorched almost 15,000 dunams and forced the evacuation of about 100 homes at the edge of the town of Clayton. Fire officials said the blaze also was threatening 3 communications towers and a historic stone building that serves as a visitor center on the summit of Mount Diablo, which rises more than 1,000 meters above sea level. Faced with tougher European regulations on pollution, but a constant desire among affluent drivers for speed and panache, German car manufacturers BMW, Opel and Mercedes-Benz presented new models at the Frankfurt Car Show, putting their focus on electric and hybrid technology. Pricey new models are heading for production from these car makers, some with gasoline engines, some with diesels, but all with electronic motors and battery packs. The cars offer a feel-good factor to wealthy drivers, giving them the social acclaim of being green, while also allowing them to still enjoy the buzz and status of a fast, powerful vehicle. But there are also risks. Car makers will need to convince drivers that hybrid engines perform at least as well as the traditional gasoline and petrol varieties.
Mercedes muss atemberaubende Technik.
And Apple has introduced 2 new iPhones, including the iPhone 5C that starts at $99 with a contract, priced to bring one of the industry's costliest smartphones within reach of the masses in poor emerging markets. The world's most valuable technology company is trying to beat back rivals in markets like India and China, where it is quickly losing ground. The new iPhones, coupled with the belief that Apple will announce a deal with the world's largest carrier in China, have spurred investors to build bullish share and options positions in the company over the past 2 weeks.
This is iPhone 5C.
Style icon Karl Lagerfeld, one of the most recognizable and controversial figures in the fashion industry, turned 80 today. Lagerfeld took the fashion world by storm at the age of 20 when he was hired as Pierre Balmain's assistant. Known as the Kaiser of fashion, Lagerfeld first started designing for Fendi, moved to Chloé, and then became Chanel's haute couture and ready-to-wear collections director before producing his own imprint label, Karl Lagerfeld. The label has been a staple of the fashion world since the mid-60s. Jordan's Al Nashama booked an intercontinental playoff against the 5th-placed finishers in South American qualifying for a ticket to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil. In the second leg of the World Cup Asia Zone qualifying playoff this evening in the Uzbek capital Tashkent, Jordan and Uzbekistan drew 1-1, forcing the contest into a penalty shootout. With Al Nashama's 9-8 penalty shootout win, Jordan will now prepare for the 2-legged tie against South American opposition in November. Thomas Bach was elected president of the International Olympic Committee today. The German was the firm favorite in a choice of 6 candidates to become only the 9th president in the body's 119-year history after succeeding Belgium's Jacques Roguet, who stepped down after 12 years at the helm. He polled 49 of the available 93 votes, beating Puerto Rican Richard Carrion into 2nd place.
You're leaving such a great legacy, IOC. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
And FIFA President Sepp Blatter has admitted for the first time that awarding the 2022 World Cup to Qatar may have been a mistake due to soaring temperatures in the summer. However, he indicated the timing of the tournament may be up for discussion. The final decision will be taken in October, when Blatter will try to have his proposals to switch the tournament to winter endorsed by the FIFA Executive Committee. Calls to move the World Cup to later in the year during the European winter have also been unpopular, as it will cause major disruption to domestic league competitions. But while Blatter said it may have been a mistake to hold the World Cup in Qatar, he emphasized that it had been correct to award it to the Gulf state from both a geographical and political point of view.
It was not a mistake to award the World Cup because by the rotation of the World Cup it was time to go also to the Arabic world, and here we are in the Arabic world. The country is not a very big one, but it's a very important one, so the decision was absolutely in the context of the politics of FIFA, and especially the politics of this president.
And finally, fair weather continues in most regions tonight with northwesterly light to moderate winds. Tomorrow, a slight rise in temperature is expected, so it will be relatively hot in most regions and hot in the Badia and the Jordan Valley. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate, changing to northwesterly in the afternoon. As for the Gulf of Aqaba, a very hot day tomorrow with northwesterly moderate to brisk winds and slightly choppy seas. Here now is a look at temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. The lower house of parliament votes in an emergency meeting to sack Deputy Talal al-Sharif and to suspend the membership of Deputy Qusay al-Dmaisi after an altercation and a gunshot in the chambers. Syria says it supports a Russian proposal for Damascus to give up chemical weapons to avoid a possible U.S. military strike and to spare Syrian blood. And Jordan's Al Nashama book an intercontinental playoff against the fifth-place finishers in South American qualifying for a ticket to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alia Tukan. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.